Hello listeners, happy Monday, end of game week 4. This is Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James, and a big shout out to Tom Campbell at UtterlyTC on Twitter, who bought me this mug, and on it says, and my name is James, Tottenham and proud. I just removed the proud on this Monday morning, but I'm still Tottenham. How are you, Serge?
I was looking forward to this because the podcast is always better when our teams don't do well. We were mediocre.
And
having said that, and yours were rubbish. They're real football teams as opposed to FPL. I'm talking about here, and we both had a man sent off this weekend. There was so many stories and narratives going into this weekend, especially around the big man Cristiano Ronaldo coming back and so on, and the narratives played out as we thought. There was drama involved in all of them. People left with all sorts of headaches. I think people are still quite knee-jerky in where they want to go, what they want to do. Coming into game week 5, can people be patient for the Chelsea fixture swing? All sorts of stuff going on. Yeah.
There's more wildcards coming.
Yeah,
I think so. There's the regrets of those who didn't pull it last week and perhaps went through the weekends without Ronaldo's, Lukaku's and stuff. I'd have a bet that anyone's going to wildcard this week is looking at trying to fit Salah, Lukaku and Ronaldo all into their team.
Plenty of people will be trying to do that. I'm in quite a few mini leagues. Should we go through our teams? Shall I start with me?
Go on in. You had a good week.
I'm in quite a few mini leagues where people didn't go to Ronaldo particularly. 1 or 2 Lukaku's, and majority of people were on Salah, and so Ronaldo going off was quite key. I ended up selling Son, thinking that he would be out, and also ended up selling Danny Ings as well. And the debate at the time we talked about on the differential show on Friday was, do I drop all the way down to a Damari Gray level with Son and then have loads of money and keep it in the bank? Or my preferred option was Mason Mount, 7.5 million long-term hold. And then up top, we were talking about Lukaku and Ronaldo. And at the time, we were talking about Lukaku. And in the end, you messaged me.
Well, I was like, can you get Ronaldo? And you were like,
yeah, I can get Ronaldo. And there was a lot of umming and ahhing about whether he'd play, whether he wouldn't. And the more I looked at it, I thought, well, in a number of WhatsApp groups that I'm in, talking to people, I've been saying 20 goals, 15 assists for Ronaldo for the rest of the season, or at least double digits for both. Like, yeah, just do the obvious and go with him. And then the debate was, would he play? Wouldn't he play? I'm like, just look at the guy. Like, look at him. He's as fit as you need to be. There's no way he's not got match fitness or anything like that. And so I decided, Ronaldo would be fine, and Mount would be fine as well. Mount obviously didn't get a minute, but that's fine. He's long-term hold.
Who did you have come in for Mount off the bench?
Bissouma, 3 points.
Oh, banger.
Not exciting, but I'll take it. Like it's what the bench is there for, 3s and 4s all day long from the bench. So I ended up scoring 71 when Bissouma comes in for Mount. That's me all out. I've got no involvement in Everton Burnley tonight. And that gives me a rank rise from 713,000 as it stands to 402. That will drop back tonight, maybe 450. But that's still a 300.
Depends how big the Everton boys go, doesn't it?
It's still a 300 rank rise, 300k rank rise, which is fine. And I'm set up well. Like going into this week, my move would have been Barnes to Rafinha ahead of Leeds' decent run now. Antonio getting himself sent off, which he talks about, he's an easy bench for me. Made too much money. Only a 1-game suspension, which happens to be against Man United. So I don't see myself selling Antonio and moving away from him. I'm going to bench him. And I'll still consider Barnes to Rafinha or Barnes to Conor Gallagher to be confirmed. We shall discuss.
Okay. Who was your good returnees this week, other than the obvious?
Cristiano Ronaldo, Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ben White, Luke Shaw, and Sanchez. Everyone else blanked. Like Barnes and Ivan Toney are a concern for me at the moment. When you're talking about fixing problems, it's funny because I saw someone saying, Tony's been a disappointment so far this season. This is before this weekend. I was like, he scored 1 in 3. So over the course of a 38-game season, that's 13 goals, give or take. And that'd be all right as a return in your first season in the Premier League.
You want the timing of it, though, because at some point in there, there'll be a spell of 3 and 4 or something like that.
Sure.
And with the fixtures that are coming now.
But I don't
Brentford.
think it was fair. And I thought if he'd scored this weekend, it'd be 2 and 4. And suddenly you're like, that's a goal every other game. That's decent. So I didn't buy the narrative that he hasn't done well yet. It just be a little bit more patient. But Tony now is 1 in 4. And Brentford's fixtures...
It's Wolves away and then it's rough.
Yeah,
and you could argue what we've seen from Wolves. Wolves away is rough.
Tony is a problem. Barnes has got his difficult fixture out of the way with Man City, and then has got some bearable fixtures now. Brighton, Burnley, Palace.
What you got in the bank?
Nada.
Nothing. Not even a dime bar, no? Not even a 0.1?
No. So, I'll see. It's a problem, but it's not like,
Okay, so you're going to keep Antonio?
Yes.
Because the majority of what I'm hearing is sell.
Sell him if you want.
Yeah, I'm keeping as well, mate. I'd look at it and go, okay, was I expecting fireworks against Manchester United this weekend? No,
not with what we've seen now. With Varane has really settled in well, and he looks a player, doesn't he?
So I got 56 minus 4, which I'm quite happy with. I spoke on my streams on Friday, Saturday, saying if I took a drop and by the end of the week I dropped from 50k to 200k, I would deem that as quite a successful week with no Ronaldo, no Lukaku in my planning. So I'm about 180k now. So obviously, if the Everton guy's blank tonight, it's probably well finished as about 200k. Should Calvert-Lewin get a 9-pointer or so, I'm probably looking at more like 250k or so. I can live with that because a new pre-season, this was always going to be the rough weekend for me. And ironically, I actually had quite a few players return, but none of them big, other than Trent. So Trent 12-pointer, I captained Mo Salah, Mason Greenwood assist, Luke Shaw assist, Rudiger clean sheet, Jose Sarr clean sheet. So I brought in Sarr, Rudiger and Jota for a -4 in place of Emi Martinez, Constantinos Tsimikas and Heung-min Son. Antonio -1, Ings 2, Barnes 2, Ricardo Pereira no showman, a 2-pointer for Jack Harrison. And Pereira, having got through last week and thinking, oh my God, that's a bonus, I've got Ricardo Pereira back. Obviously then didn't play. And I think I'm probably going to move him on this week is the idea. But there's information to gain from Leicester playing in the Europa League, possibly on Thursday. So I'm going to leave the decision quite late. I did give some thought last night because I've got 1.9 in the bank and I could have gone Pereira to Omar Bamidele, who started for Norwich at the weekend, 3.9, and then going Ings to Lukaku. I would have had the exact money to do it. Wasn't keen on making those moves this early in the week with European fixtures. Everton still to play tonight as well. Not that I own any Everton or Burnley players. So I decided to let that go. That's not the system that I particularly want to go to. It was more a case of, fuck, I want to get Lukaku, which I'd known was going to be the one that was actually going to bother me more rather than Ronaldo over the weekend. So I've got 4 or 5 days now to make a decision on what I'm doing with Pereira. If I get to Friday and it suddenly looks like that he's going to be in the team, I'll probably roll a transfer. Purely because I don't mind playing Luke Ayling at Newcastle in spite of Leeds looking a bit grim defensively. But if that's what it has to be, that's fine. Although I'd rather not.
He still could have scored at the weekend, couldn't he, Luke Ayling?
He had a great chance at the back post.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is he might end up going centre-back now. So, that's a little bit woefully grim. Interestingly, Newcastle basically played more of a 5-4-1 at Old Trafford, but it might be because it was Manchester United away. I'd held the belief that Leeds would probably play a back 3 at Newcastle on Friday night, but they might not now, because I don't know if they can get 3 centre-backs on the pitch, actually, with the problems they suffered yesterday with Llorente's injury, Pascal Struijk's red card, obviously. But they could go Ayling, Cooper, and if Cox back, which I don't think he probably will be, then that obviously opens up back 3 for him. But there's every chance Ayling at centre-back is not going to get attacking returns, unless he plays a long one over the top and Bamford gets on the end of it. It's the only way it's coming. So Pereira out, and there's a number of people in my mind. I'll make a decision later in the week. Plan then is probably to downgrade Harvey Barnes to a 4.5 the following week. I need that coverage of Barnes this week to cover Antonio's suspension, basically. If I've got Antonio back the other week, downgrade Harvey Barnes to a 4.5, shift the system to a 4.42. And I'm back to buying Lukaku in 7 rather than 6. That's probably how it's looking for me now.
I'm lined up this week. Sanchez bust anyway in goal. Shaw, that's West Ham away. I think I am going to the London Stadium on Sunday with the sole objective of enjoying watching Ronaldo play and no hope or dreams whatsoever for my team. But Ben White is Burnley, Palace for Trent, and Luke Ayling, Newcastle at home. I'll take it. I even actually think I've got Brandon Williams sitting there. You're talking about Omobamidele. I think Watford at home for Norwich.
Yeah, that's part why I thought it
isn't such a bad fixture. He'll be first on my bench should anyone not play. I don't think it's such a bad fixture. They do need to now get a result, get something on the board, because it's that momentum thing of things ticking along. But yeah, this could have been a very different game week, James. For the sake of 15 seconds. Like, this is no joke. I tweeted it on Saturday
you dickhead
morning.
On Saturday.
And it's not even,
How do you do these things every year?
Friday night, looked at all. I listened to your live stream, Ask James stream. I was like, you really are bullish on Ronaldo. Like, not. You're not saying Ronaldo to me to try and influence my decisions. You're really bullish on it. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, sod it. What's my thinking? He's going to score loads of goals. Let's get it done. Transfer's done. Sitting with the kids doing their homework on Saturday morning, 10:59, literally was. And I was like, let me just check my team. Pulled it up. Armband was still on Antonio. So changed the armband to Ronaldo, changed the vice to Salah, hit save team. It goes, your changes have been saved. Then hit refresh to check that the transfers had thing. And it came up, the game is updating. I knew it had gone through because it said your changes have been saved. So I thought the likelihood is high.
Mate, I absolutely would not have been changing the vice. I'd just gone Ronaldo, captain saved, then do the vice save.
I didn't actually know how many seconds I had. I just saw it was 10:59. And that could have been a 14-point swing. I'm like, wow. I honestly thought the night before I'd changed my captain, but clearly not. 15 seconds to what could have been a 14-point swing, because captaining Antonio was a painful mistake for some this weekend.
I've had a lot of feedback, even from many of our patrons, which is absolutely fair enough to say that, James, I think you should have pulled the wild card over the weekend, going with no Ronaldo or Lukaku and stuff. As I said many times, this was just a survival week for me. And I wanted to highlight the guy who's actually top of the Planet FPL podcast mini league.
Yes, Ryan.
His name's Ryan Quinn. He's 4th in the world at the moment. Overall, out of everybody on the fucking planet, he's 4th. He's top of the Planet FPL mini league. He wildcarded this week gone, and he started with 8 players the same as me. And that's why I didn't want a wildcard, because the rest of the team's not that bad. It's just a case of I wasn't at the point of having the premium. And let's be honest, if Sadio Mane had taken his shooting boots with him to Ellen Road yesterday in the first 90 minutes or so, Mo Salah might have outscored Lukaku and Ronaldo this week. And then suddenly I'm going, well, that's a Brucey bonus, isn't it? And I'm in position now with obviously Salah this week, and I'm going to give some praise to Crystal Palace very shortly, but Mo Salah will 100% be my captain this weekend as long as he's fit. Obviously, should Salah pick up an injury this weekend, in this midweek in the Champions League, then it's -4 to probably shift the team around, isn't it? And that's one of the reasons to wait with these European fixtures and stuff. There's something we can really learn, I think, particularly actually about Leicester and West Ham this week, in terms of what our learnings are, and Chelsea as well, I think.
We've got the early kickoff on Thursday, 5:45. Lovely jubbly.
You and us, you're in the Europa League, we're in the Europa Concerned League. We always kick off at the same time, all 6 group games.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I'm never going to see West Ham in Europe. You're never going to see Tottenham in Europe. We'll both go out in the group stage.
You were never going to watch us, and I've never watched
in the
Europa League anyway.
No way would I watch them competitions unless I was watching my own team.
Yeah. We need to talk about the games at the weekend, as we do each and every week. We'll wrap up the 9 that have gone so far, and as and when time allows, we will get into some questions from you guys on Twitter towards the end as well, and we'll be looking at strategy.
If you want analysis of Arsenal and Norwich, you can probably come back in about 20 minutes.
20 minutes? You're not going to get 20 minutes to talk about this. We'll start with Crystal Palace Spurs. I was... negative about Crystal Palace 2 weeks ago after we played them. I said they weren't very good on the ball in the first half. They sat in deep and they're a bunch of meh. Although I did say they were better in the second half. They showed more intensity. They closed us down and they deserved the draw. It was one of those where I'd said we were the better team, but the draw was the fair result against us. What they did against you was the second half against us, but for the whole game. Like the way they were able to keep the ball, I was like, you've got 3 defensively minded midfielders in there. Like one of them's got to win the fucking ball back. Because if you don't have the ball, you ain't going to do shit. And they just kept coming at you, wave after wave. I was just thinking, let me see how many touches Harry Kane's had of the ball in the entire game. It was like 35 or something. Just, you may as well not been there.
It's the first time Kane's ever had no shots and no touches in the box in a game, ever. He was anonymous. I was trying to find the stat to show he was anonymous. Can I clarify?
You've just done it.
Can I clarify at this point that wasn't Harry Kane's fault?
No. I'm not.
The shocking 10 shit behind him.
It shows the team were just not at it. This was not like the good thing about Edouard coming on and getting those 2 late goals is it makes the scoreline a reflection of the game. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Oh, yeah.
If you'd have nicked a 1-0, it would be like, oh, Spurs, Crystal Palace managed to nick a 1-0. No, they didn't. They won that game fair and square. And my takeaway from it, I mean, Odds and Edouard, too early to judge on 10 minutes for me to say anything. But Gallagher, each and every game, 5.5 million. I prefer Gallagher at 5.5 now than Damari Gray at 5.6, whatever it is. I feel like I'm happy to make that point.
Gallagher went to 5.6 last night.
Oh shit!
And I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I do think he's one to look at, and I was impressed overall with Palace. And they'll be hopeful now. Look, Edouard came on and scored. Elise managed to get on the pitch as well. When finally
we've spoken about this. Yeah,
they've got that energy in there. I think positive for Palace. Positive.
Yeah, it would be easy for me just to sit here and bash Tottenham for 5 minutes. So I want to start with Palace first and say very, very good. I had a long belief in pre-season going back to correspondent week with our Palace correspondent Mctavius and speaking about other things, about saying, look, those first 10 fixtures for Crystal Palace are naughty as. They could leave themselves in a bad position in the league and they might still be in a naughty bad position by the time game week 10 comes round. But we did have a belief that they'd bought well, and once the signings were integrated, they would potentially have, for them, a good season and not be involved in a relegation fight. And what I saw at the weekend, Crystal Palace are not going to be in relegation trouble. And as you correctly said, I mean, they introduced 2 new players again at the weekend, albeit as substitutes. Elise is a very good player. Really good technically on the ball, kind of fits in with, I mean, Eze's obviously a big miss for them at the moment, still to come back. And Edouard, suddenly Palace looked like within 20 seconds of him coming on the pitch. I think I want to say it was the quickest debut goal in Premier League history.
Really? I think it's 26 seconds.
Quickest debut goal in Premier League history.
26 or 36 seconds.
But unlike Benteke, when he had the chances, you thought, oh, he's going to score really. This fella knows where the onion bag is. Yeah. So he'll get Benteke out of that team soon enough. I don't think buying odds on Edouard is an option right now. They're going to Liverpool this weekend. Let's remember that. I think for longer term thinking, I think Tyreek Mitchell could become a very interesting option as the season goes on. And for those on wildcard and looking for perhaps rotational 2 4.5s, there are certain ones you can look at, because there are fixtures like Brighton at home in 6, Newcastle at home in 9, where you'd probably be quite happy to play him. I don't think you'd want to in the other 4, and that's important to mention with Palace. Liverpool away, Leicester at home, Arsenal away, Manchester City away. There are other 4 of the next 6. So there isn't oh my God, let's dive into Crystal Palace. And let's be honest, let's at this moment still remember that it is Crystal Palace. The outstanding option is Conor Gallagher. By miles, is 5.6 million. And even though they've got Liverpool away this weekend, I won't put you off buying him. Purely because he's on all the set pieces.
Yeah, he's taking everything in.
It can work as a budget enabler for your team. If you're looking for that -4, Harvey Barnes, it's a bad example, but suddenly Jota gets injured midweek, Jota to Gallagher, and then Antonio up to someone else, for example. I wouldn't put you off going to buy Conor Gallagher now. You were impressed with him in the 2-2. You have to remember when you look at his points as well, he didn't even play in game week 1 because he was ineligible. We saw him miss a massive chance against Brentford in game week 2. He missed a huge opportunity against us in the first half inside the 6-yard box, which was a good save from Hugo Lloris.
I was going to say, give credit to the goalkeeper for that one.
Three free kicks that he took during the game. He took all of them.
Yep.
2 of them were well over and 1 of them was in the wall, but eventually he'll probably get 1 of them right. Technique is very good, and he is the all-action energy player that they've never had. They've probably never had it in the Premier League, who breaks forward from midfield and wants to go and support. We spoke last week, I spoke about my concerns if Tanganga played centre-back, of them playing diagonals and him picking up the feeds off Benteke, picking up the scraps. But to be fair to Palace, he never played like that.
The problem for Tanganga ended up being letting himself get wound up by Wilfried Zaha, and Wilfried Zaha will do that every now and then.
Zaha was very good. I mean, I wouldn't go near that for FPL.
No, not at all. I think he gave Emerson Royale a tough game as well. I think Emerson Royale did okay, but it was a difficult game for him.
Do you know what he did, Emerson? He started really well in the first 20 minutes, actually. He really went in tight with Zaha, but then I think once Zaha realised that he was going to go in tight physical with him and began to roll him and become a problem. Because once Zaha rolls you and turns, you're not getting back at him. You've not got much choice but to foul him. You foul him, you're on a yellow card. And then, as kind of seen with Tanganga later in the game, what can happen? Just on the red card, by the way. I don't understand how he doesn't get sent off in the first incident.
Okay.
I just look at it as 2 bookable offences. One is a serious push. I don't think it's a red, personally. Although, if that happened on the pitch and Zaha was running past him and the ball was... I mean, it was nowhere near Tanganga when it actually happened. Then I think he gets sent off. But I don't understand how he definitely picks up the yellow card for the foul. And then him and Zaha have a pushing match and they both end with a yellow card. I think like referees can go, yep, there's 1 yellow. Actually, yep, there's a second yellow and there's a red. That is allowed. I think he was lucky to escape. And then he's gone in for the second challenge and it's so rash. And it confirmed, obviously, the fears of what was watching anyway. Because prior to the red card, Palace had been the better side and deserved to be ahead. The first half hour was nothing. I was speaking in the pub I was in to a few lads and saying, this game almost doesn't exist. You know what the angry bit is for that for me? I've been there before, like watching Tottenham, but I'm not watching Tottenham. It was a dismal performance. It was as bad as anything produced under Jose Mourinho, honestly. It was horrendous. There are a couple of notes to take into account, though. Firstly, Davinson Sanchez and Christian Romero will be back for the fixture against Chelsea in game week 5, and they will both play at centre-back. Giovanni Lo Celso will also return. Hopefully, at least one of Heung-min Son or Steven Bergwijn will return. And that will make a difference to the team.
Of course, those are big names to be missing.
What's extremely concerning from the weekend is we obviously missed notable players. And let's be honest, we bashed Arsenal 2 weeks ago, and they made 7 changes on Saturday, right? And looked a lot better for it. I think it just emphasises why, unfortunately, the top 4 are basically already sewn up. Because you're looking like a side like Tottenham after game week 1 and the performance against Man City, and you're saying, oh, if they can be consistent. The problem is we get injuries and we've got massive problems. If I ever see that midfield 3 of Winks, Skip and Højbjerg together again, and it's not an individual criticism of any of them particularly, they've all got their uses, not together.
Yeah.
Not together. Harry Winks has never played left side of a midfield 3 in his life. I'm fairly certain of that. He got hung out to dry. I saw the team and I thought, well, that's okay. He'll play Winks centrally. He'll play Skip to the left. Skip and Højbjerg can go and press the ball. And Ali can play kind of inside left forward and get close to Kane. And we've seen Ali do that in the past, particularly in the 16-17 season. A few times we played 3 at the back. Ali and Eriksson would play off of Kane in a 4-3-2-1. And you look at that front 3 and you go, there's not massive pace there. And we still had Lucas Moura. So I thought, well, that's okay. Didn't play like that. Basically played a diamond with Ali at the top of it, which very quickly became a 4-3-2-1 with Lucas and Ali off Kane. Lucas Moura was just about the only player, again, who could hold his head high after the game, although I'm loath to criticise Hugo because the result could have been worse without him. Yes, he should save the last one, but He made other important contributions during the game. It was abysmal. I hope Nuno learnt from that. And he gets a pass for the first awful performance. But this was always the fear for Spurs fans was, to be honest, is it Mourinho 2.0, right? And on that basis on Saturday, it is. He promised to make us proud, and he's just... the first 3 games are dead. They're dead to me after that performance. It's start again.
It's the fear again, isn't it? What's the normal? What's your baseline to expect from Spurs? Because we'll talk similarly about West Ham when we get to that game. I feel like I know what my baseline is. So the last couple of games we've drawn, we've not been great, but putting in a performance to get a draw and work rate, if nothing else, grinding it out is the baseline that I expect from my team. You're below that. You're like, the baseline is crap. And it's frustrating.
The other thing is, again, mitigating, and it's not to take anything away from Palace, but the team that finished was obviously a man short.
Yeah.
And it finished with basically 5th and 7th choice centre-backs, with Rodon and Davis in the end in a back 4 with a man short, right? So, as I said, look, you got Sanchez, who's been good this season, in fairness. This is Romero's opportunity to go into the team. If neither Bergwijn or Sonny are back, I think Lo Celso will come into the team. These little things will make the team a little bit stronger. However, whatever Spurs assets you've got, sell it. There isn't a reason to keep any Spurs player. Son is extremely doubtful for Sunday. It's very early. We'll get more clues, kind of Tottenham playing in the Conference League on Thursday. We'll get some more clues from that. To be honest, I think Bergwijn was just as big a miss, Because, again, him and Sanchez kind of unheralded and not had a great 18 months for Tottenham. But it both started the season really well. So there were some losses. I cannot bear to see that midfield ever again. And Ndombele was on the bench, finally, reintegrated into the squad. Didn't use it. At least put someone in the midfield for who can pass the ball forward. And we know he's been training the whole time, so his fitness shouldn't be too bad. Brian Hill, no excuse not to use him. I understand why he didn't start him, because I think he'd have looked at it and gone, if I start him and I need to change something offensively, I've got nothing. But then not to introduce him in the game. It shouldn't have been at the point where it waited for Tanganga to get sent off, because the goal was coming anyway. Even if we'd have stayed with 11 on the pitch, Palace were thoroughly deserving winners. The only one I can make a case for you to keep with Tottenham at the moment is Reguilon. If you've built up good value in it and you've got other problems, fine. But then ideally you want to bench it this weekend. But I'm quite confident we'll give Chelsea a proper game this weekend. It's different.
Yeah, you've got a different team, Derby. Again, when you're playing against...
I don't expect anything out of it. But again, to go back to Nuno's cycle at Wolves, they had good results against the big opposition. The atmosphere will be very different. It'll be similar to game week 1 against Man City because of the rivalry between the two London teams. So I wouldn't assume Chelsea are going to come to Tottenham and batter us 3-4-0. No, I'm not expecting that. Do I expect us to get anything? No. But I didn't in game week 1 either.
Let's talk about the Gooners, the other side of North London. They ended up winning 1-0 quite comfortably at Norwich. 30 shots, which is...
It's the most they've had in a Premier League game for about 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, a lot of block shots there and off target and stuff.
And a bizarre goal. 30, funny as fuck goal.
Yeah. And you did say Aubameyang as a punt for 1 week was worth
Please
it.
Don't say I recommended him.
No, but you did have him in the minus 56.
If I'd have free hitted this week, I'd have put him in. But that would have been about it.
No. But look, clean sheet for Arsenal. Gabriel back, Ben White back. Tomiyasu played and was okay. Ramsdale replaces Leno. It was Norwich. No disrespect, but it was an easier game defensively, so you'd expect a clean sheet. But they did come out with a clean sheet. So Arsenal should be like, okay, put the first 3 games into some context. Chelsea and that amongst them. Chelsea and City, difficult games.
Listen, we've all had a good laugh at it. They were rubbish game week 1, but then there was the circumstance of it being Brentford's first Premier League game, the actual first Premier League game of the season, live on the telly the Friday night, them having COVID issues and all the nonsense in the background, then walked into Chelsea and Manchester City afterwards. And no one's excusing Arsenal's first 3 performance, but the overhype of nonsense about, they're going to finish bottom 6 and stuff like that is stupid. We've got too many good players. And they should have won the game by more than 1, really, at the weekend. Created loads of chances. Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Pepe... all looked to threat when they were on the pitch. I wouldn't be buying any Arsenal offensive players. I think there's two really notable ones from an FPL perspective. One, Aaron Ramsdale played in goal, which I didn't actually realise till the evening. I was looking back at stuff because they'd made so many changes, I just completely missed it.
Yeah, he's 4.5 million.
Exactly that. 4.5 million for an Arsenal goalkeeper is not bad. And to be honest, there's not much there at that value. There's not.
There isn't.
So I think, wildcarders, I probably wouldn't go there at the moment because I'd be a bit concerned that could change back if Ramsdale suddenly has a bad game. But he's come in, he's kept a clean sheet. I don't think there's any reason to think that he wouldn't play against Burnley again at the weekend. If you've got Burnt Leno, that's got to go, I think. And the other really interesting one, we'd highlighted this would probably happen now Tomiyasu is signed, is Kieran Tierney. He's going to bomb down that left-hand side. There's clear differences if you look at the heat maps of Tomiyasu, who did have an effort himself during the game, and Tierney. You can see the way Arsenal are going to play is going to have some bias towards the left-hand side, and it's going to favour Kieran Tierney. And I wouldn't rule out, having not gone for Ben White, which was optional the week gone, and I wouldn't say Ben White's a bad pick, particularly on wildcard if he's going to be 4.3 and stuff. I'm not sure if he had a drop or not.
Still 4.4.
I don't think he did. And the fact they've had a clean sheet, I think those who've got it might hold now. It might do. But I think for me now, looking to go towards a 4-4-2, I'd look at Arsenal's fixtures and think, can I play Tierney? Not necessarily long term, but can I get away with playing Tierney up till sort of game week 12-ish? And I'd say, yeah, even Leicester away in 10 is not the worst fixture. So Kieran Tierney's right under consideration for me. That's probably the sort of price point I need to go to from Pereira this week. It's kind of Semedo, Kieran Tierney. The fact I've already got Salah, do I want double Wolves defence?
Your strategy originally was around 4 premium defenders from the big 4: Rudiger, Shaw, Trent, Cancelo or Diaz.
Yeah.
So one of those 4 will be the sacrifice for Tierney.
The problem,
which team are you happy to skip?
So the problem, well, at the moment I haven't got Man City. So the problem I've got is if I go Pereira to Cancelo now, then when I go Barnes to a 4.5 and then Ings to Lukaku, it's tight. There's only about 0.2 wiggle room. And there's a chance by the time I get round to the transfers, that's going to be problematic for me. And I'm not prepared to be taking a minus. That's basically a -8 to get Lukaku in for Tottenham away and Man City at home. I'm not prepared to do that. So that's why I'm probably going to relinquish the idea of going Man City at the moment, which I don't hate because obviously they've got a great fixture this week and then it's Chelsea away, Liverpool away. And then I can go Shaw to Manchester City when United's fixtures stiffen up in 8. That was kind of the original one. And then that probably means I only go with 2 Chelsea, which when we come on to them, might just be what I decide to do, is just go with 2 rather than 3. I can always come back for a third in 9, for example. The other one from City, just briefly, just because of why I'm talking about it, Laporte is an option, because then the money isn't an issue. But there's a certain amount of gamble in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
This week, I'm not sure I want to take it with leaving Antonio on the bench, etc., etc. So it might be that I go down to sort of Kieran Tierney level, actually. Burnley, Tottenham, Brighton, Palace, Villa, Leicester, Watford is a good run. Arsenal will be in the top half by the end of it. That's a certainty.
Norwich, avoid other than your budget options like Omobamidele and Brandon Williams and stuff. I don't see anything else there that...
What was interesting for Norwich was there was a number of changes. It wasn't just Omobamidele played at centre-back. They made a number of changes that we didn't expect, like Solis suddenly came in the team, for example. Rashica was left out. So I don't know if it was a case of Daniel Farke having a look at certain other players. And there are of interest because, again, Norwich have a brilliant run of fixtures, basically up to game week 14. I mean, they've got one dirty fixture in there, which is Chelsea away. And the next toughest fixture over that period is Everton away in game week 6. And FPL Badger will be coming on Clash of the Correspondents next week to preview that game at Everton. And I think it's possibly a go back and look. They do enable, don't they? These people like Omobamidele, Brandon Williams. Like, if you've got, now you stick. Yep. I think the attacking ones, like I know as the closer we get to the weekend, some people, if I go Antonio to Pukki, it opens this up and stuff. The thing is, you go Antonio to Pukki this week and he blanks, you're going to want to reverse that transfer in game week 6. So I think Williams or Omobamidele, if it enables, is fine. Is Omobamidele going to keep his place in the team? I'm really not convinced, because I think subtly there were more changes in that Norwich team than people noticed at the weekend. There were 4 or 5 changes anyway, and it's not, Cantwell didn't play, Rashica didn't play, so why didn't Gibson play? I think this is some information we need to learn over a bit more fixtures, actually.
Brentford
but I'd have one on a wild card. I think I'd go Williams still. I'd pay a little extra.
Brentford versus Brighton. Brighton now snuck up to 5th in the table, 3 wins out of 4 with a +2 goal difference.
And another one with less XG that they've won. Only about 0.4 XG, I think, at the weekend, Brighton.
They've scored 4, conceded 3, but they've won 3 games with a +2 goal difference.
I've got some very good news for Duffy owners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, keep him now.
Adam Webster. What's the latest on Adam Webster?
So I've not even seen a clip of what happened, but reported hamstring injury and looked in serious discomfort coming away from the pitch.
Right.
So I think it's fair to assume he's probably not going to be back anytime soon, which for the Sky listeners, don't worry, we'll talk about that on Wednesday if you haven't already fixed the problem. What it does mean is Duffy is now extremely likely to stay in the team. And if you're sitting there with Dunk, for example, and you haven't got problems, you should probably now be considering the downgrade. Dunk to Duffy. Mm-hmm. The reason Duffy's going to stay in the team is quite straightforward. Obviously, Adam Webster is injured. But very importantly, Jakob Moda came on to replace Webster. It was about 10 minutes before half-time. I checked with FPL Seagull, our Brighton correspondent. They briefly stayed with a back 3 and then changed in the second half to a back 4. Duffy's going to be far more comfortable in a back 4. And in the short term, that's going to be better for Lewis Dunk playing left-sided in a back 4 than left-sided in a back 5. So I think they're going to go back 4 now with the problems of the loss of Webster. They can still go a 3, but then it's still the unsuitability of Dunk playing left-sided centre-back in a 3 when you want him to be the central of those players. You can't put Duffy in either of those wide positions, because if he gets pulled into channels by quick players, he's going to get rinsed to fuck, whereas he can get protected in a back 4. And obviously, when Brighton first came up, that was the partnership for years, wasn't it? Dunk and Duffy. So they know each other's games. There's nothing overly they need to work on. It makes sense at the moment that Veltman plays right back. And Cucurella, who really is a left wing back, obviously can play left back. In a crisis, Solly March can also play there. And Dan Burney's nearing fitness, who we know he's unorthodox but can play left back as well. So at the moment, Duffy suddenly, where I think week on week I was like, this is going to change. My advice would be keep now. So you know what that means, right? He's out the team this weekend, probably. No, you should be absolutely fine. And actually, again, now I think if you're on wildcard or you're looking to find the money, interesting. And I can't say that it won't be me. And the reason it won't be me, I don't really like it. And I'm not keen because their next 3 home fixtures are Leicester, Arsenal, Manchester City. They've got Palace and Norwich away, sandwiched in between them 5. And then the 6th fixture is Liverpool away. So I don't think there's an entry point, really. But I am conscious that just about everybody out there seems to have a Brighton defensive player, be it a Sanchez or those who've still, like, if you've still got Veltman, like, even though he's dropped to 4.4, now you keep. He will definitely play as well, irrespective of system at the moment. I think Joel Veltman. Tariq Lamptey's penciled in to play in the Carabao Cup next midweek, but I don't think we could expect to see him in the league till game week 7 at the earliest. And bearing in mind that's Arsenal at home, I'm not sure they'll throw him into that as well. I think he's had so many setbacks, they're going to take him very steady, aren't they, Tariq Lamptey?
Yeah.
So, ironically, Duffy and Veltman have now become good strong holds because of the Webster injury, which, again, we don't know the full prognosis yet. I don't think I'll go there because of the fixtures. I think the best bit of it's gone. FPL Seagull is coming on Clash of the Correspondents this Thursday, so he'll be able to give a first-hand opinion on the likes of Duffy, Veltman, Leandro Trossard, who scored. Perhaps even a little talk about Alexis McAllister's prospects as well. But I think the moment to buy Brighton assets is probably gone. What you've got, I think you probably hold.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm going to be sticking with Sanchez, but I have no desire to add anyone with it. Brentford.
Well, it's a good exit point, isn't it? It's Wolves away this weekend who've impressed nearly all of us, I'm guessing, in the first 4 fixtures. Finally got the win that they've deserved at the weekend. Following Wolves away, it's Liverpool at home, West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Leicester at home. And then there is another kind of run for game week 10. So if you've got your likes of Pinnock that you've brought in and you've got a bit of value in and you can afford to leave him on the bench, that's of course fine. I do think, Suj, for those like yourself with Ivan Toney, you should be looking
to move
elsewhere. The interesting one, and I've only seen probably what a lot of you will have only seen at the weekend, sort of 10 minutes or so of the game, but Bryan Mbeumo, fuck me, he had some chances. He's still 5.5 in midfield, and that offers an alternative. I couldn't make a case, even though he's playing up front with the fixtures, I don't think I could make a case actually to buy him over Gallagher. I think I would, even though Gallagher's now 5'6", I'd go Gallagher over Mbeumo, but he's really worth watching because they're doing okay, and I think while they're doing okay, the system probably doesn't change. And I think even with these tougher fixtures, it doesn't change. There's no reason to think at the moment that he's not going to continue playing up front in this system at the moment. And just as no OP, that obviously makes him interesting. And at his value, you can get away with it during some of these better fixtures. So I think he's the one. If I held Mbeumo, I wouldn't be selling this week. I'd probably want another look at that. Toney, I think, is a good time to move on if you can.
Leicester and Man City. Do you think it's a case again where the stats don't lie? Man City have come away with 60% of the ball, 25 shots, 8 on target, 7 off target, just 6 shots in total for Leicester.
And yet Leicester had a few good moments, right? Jamie Vardy's disallowed goal, which obviously was offside, the correct decision. Harvey Barnes hit the bar with a header. Get over it, please, son. You're in my FPL team, for fuck's sake. And also had an effort at the back post in the first half as well. So, in spite of the fact City having all the statistics, Leicester did have some moments in the game. And do have a decent run coming up themselves now. With what they got this weekend. Brighton away. Again, Aaron Lager will be on Clash of Correspondents Thursday. Burnley at home, Palace away. With a decent 3 fixtures. And that's why I'm a little bit loath to be like Ricardo Pereira. I don't want to lose. I just want him to play, basically.
Yeah, I get that.
And then I'm really interested. Barnes, I'm looking at the fixtures: Brighton away, Burnley at home, Palace away, and they do look nice. Can I see him going big in any of them fixtures? Only if they scored early against Burnley, I think. And I think I may, because that's obviously their fixture in game week 6. I may still have to be ruthless about it, unfortunately, and because of the defensive issue I may have, is keep Barnes for this weekend. I've already lost his price this week. I don't suppose I'll probably lose another 0.1, and I may have to be ruthless and sell him before Burnley, which is not ideal, but I need something to happen to facilitate Lukaku. It might be that I hold for the Burnley fixture even, and then I can obviously make the 2-3s in 7, but I think for me to still have Harvey Barnes in 2 weeks, I'm probably needing to roll in game week 6, which is a possibility. Gives me more thinking time to make the right decision. It might be there's an available 4.4 midfielder for that by then, for example. It was a bit of a shocker that Pereira didn't play, having had all the good news in the week. Castagne played right back, Ryan Bertrand came in at left back, Vestergaard came in at centre back. Those changes possibly all make Leicester a little bit stronger defensively. Although Castagne at right back is now worth watching if he's going to be in the team, because he'll have next to no ownership having not been involved, and they do have a bias to attacking down their right hand side. So they're ones to watch. I think the forward players, you're not going to buy any of them now.
No.
Even with the 3 good fixtures, don't see it personally.
No. From a City point of view, I still have more questions than I have answers about anything. Where is John Stones? is a question mark. Like he was so good for so long and for the whole summer, and then now what? He's been displaced by Laporte because of form, or is there a fitness kind of issue or something that we don't know about that we need to talk about? And by the same token, if we can talk about Ben Chilwell when we get to Arsenal as well, Chelsea as well. Where is Ben Chilwell now? So John Stones has disappeared. Right, Foden, De Bruyne back on the bench, but didn't make it onto the pitch at the weekend necessarily. So I still don't think after this week we know what City look like full strength, and so I'm still not sure where I want to go in.
No, but I'll praise one of our good friends, Luke, from Fantasy Football Scout Disable on Twitter.
Yep.
Who I hadn't seen these comments from Guardiola, but he posted something very interesting over Twitter at the weekend about basically footed bias in the Manchester City team at the moment. And what it kind of suggested is combinations. The idea that from a balance perspective, Guardiola wants a left-footed player on the left side of defence. Now, if Laporte's going to be the left-sided centre-back, that adds to the prospect of Cancelo staying in the team at left-back. You got a left footer and a right footer. He wants left-footed players to play in the team on that side. Further up the field, obviously Grealish at the moment is playing left wing as a right-footed player. Now that says to me that the way he's playing at the moment, he wants either Bernardo Silva to play as the, let's call it the inside left central attacking midfielder, or Phil Foden's going to come in and fill that space, or Foden goes and plays left wing and Grealish plays to the right just inside of him. So a defensive strategy where one of the two, left back, left-sided centre-back, is left-footed. An attacking strategy where the left-sided forward and the kind of 8/10 of City central area to the left, basically where Bernardo played at the weekend, one of them also be left-footed. Stop fucking yawning, you bastard. So I don't know if there's something in that, in terms of having a left-footed, one of the two combinations. So you're looking at, if Stones came back in, Diaz goes to left-sided centre-back. Therefore, it also decreases Cancelo's likability as a player, because then he'd probably want Zinchenko to play at left-back. Similarly, if Foden's going to play left wing, it probably means Grealish moving inside and Bernardo Silva either coming out the team or going back to the right-hand side of the pitch. It's just something Luke had picked up on, which I hadn't seen, and I very much value and trust Luke's opinion. So it might be something to keep an eye on then. Cancelo's the one I'd want the most, but he's possibly going to leave me really tight financially, and I might be taking a risk to do it now, and there's every chance he won't play, because they've picked the same team 3 games in a row. I'm telling you, it won't be fucking 4, mate. Not with the Champions League this coming midweek. Can't see that at all. There'll be some changes at some point. Ferran Torres,
because your best player and De Bruyne.
Well, you got
come back in.
De Bruyne's very close. Foden's probably a week or 2 still away, which is going to have some impact on the way they play. And it's why I didn't decide to take for me, Jota over Torres this week was quite an easy choice. I think, like, whatever you've got Man City, you keep and you play this week. Obviously, Southampton at home. And I wouldn't be rushing to get rid. Like, I think if you've gone Ferran Torres, you've made that choice. Like, go for it. And you've got to accept sometimes it's going to be left out. And I think he could, particularly in those 2 away fixtures in 6 and 7 as well. I think I'm going to come back and look at them at 8, which was my original plan, and I think I'm going to go back to that. Whatever you've got, keep, though.
Manchester United...
Unless it's John Stones, you've probably been it.
Nah, that's a bit
by
of
now,
a problem now.
4 games in.
Manchester United 4, Newcastle United 1. The Ronaldo story is the one that takes
Ronaldo.
The headlines.
Like United haven't got 10 other good players.
It's funny how the narratives can get spun both ways again, and I think this is really the moral of FPL for me this season. When I've been consuming and listening to various bits of content, the one that people particularly gloss over to back up their own opinion is fixtures. Like saying this fixture is not such a bad fixture for this player, just to make sure it doesn't feel bad getting him, but that's a story for another day. I saw things about, well, it was a mistake by the goalkeeper. It's like Ronaldo was the only player in the 6-yard box there because of his instinct. So it's got nothing to do with the keeper made a mistake. Ronaldo had the skill to be there. Oh, he's let it go through his legs. Ronaldo knew where he was hitting the ball, aiming to do that as a keeper.
I don't know. I think he's just hitting the target, mate.
Well, the number of times you see people go close to the keeper because it's harder.
I realise Newcastle don't have Edward Mendy in goal. But if Newcastle had Edward Mendy in goal, there's a fair chance Ronaldo blank this weekend.
But he could have scored in different ways, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And
listen,
it's why I don't like
the game state would still be 0-0, or they'd be losing. So it doesn't mean they're going to create other chances for him. Of course,
it's a funny one.
On the two incidents though, which obviously the first goal gives him huge on the XG as well because he can't miss from 3 yards out or whatever. Yeah, look, he's a little bit fortunate to have the returns. The performance was good from him overall. I mean, the second goal, the way he just blisters away is mad at his age. He sees the opportunity from Shaw and he knows if I go into the space, he's going to find me. That understanding's already there. There was a lot of appealing towards the left-hand side, which I think he favours because it opens up the game for him. He can come in and shoot and stuff. It was always a certainty, really, that he was going to score at the weekend. I never really got the idea of, he's going to come on as a substitute for some sort of hero's reception. I didn't get that. I saw Solskjaer's comment on Friday, and I know it made a lot of people shit themselves, but as I said on my streams, it told me he's starting. In his eyes, he said, the glint was there, like, yeah, he's starting. So, if you got Ronaldo, absolutely great. You're obviously not doing anything with that. There's nothing to fear, West Ham away. And in any week, he becomes a captaincy option for you. I think it'd be a big call to still captain him over, say, Mo Salah this week. And Ronaldo won't have as many people captain him this week as he did last. I wouldn't have thought. But there will be people who just naturally thought, I'll wait a week. I'm a bit concerned. Is he going to start? Who are actually going to go and buy him this week? Which made no sense to me, personally. I think if you haven't got Ronaldo, you leave it now, personally. That's how I feel. If you're on wildcard, it's different. But I don't think you've let Newcastle at home go. And now you're going to buy him. It just doesn't make sense to me. Bruno.
United, though, now, for the first time since Sir Alex left, have a bit of fear factor for me.
They are going to batter some teams, particularly at Old Trafford.
The first, this weekend, obviously, they play us. There's a first time in a long time, I'm like, shit, these guys are going to score 2 or 3 at least this weekend. Because just looking at the number of attacking players and the talent they've got, is now something else. But they've got a fear factor about them. Oh,
and players off the bench. I mean, Jesse Lingard was good for a number of us in FPL last year, right? You've got Martial to come into it. Rashford's going to come back at some point. Donny van der Beek, I don't know what he's doing, cleaning Ronaldo's boots or something. They've got some attacking options. There's no doubt about it. And it's worth remembering that because I think that's part important. On the longer term thinking, I think this will sound ridiculous, but United could win a game like they did at the weekend 4-1 and Ronaldo might not score.
Yep.
I couldn't visualise at the moment Chelsea winning a game 4-0 or 4-1 and Lukaku not scoring. Mm-hmm. Because Chelsea don't have the variety of goal-scoring players in the same way. I mean, Fernandes could go and get 15, 20 goals again. Greenwood the same. Rashford can be a 1-2 once he's fit. Jadon Sancho got into some extremely dangerous positions at the weekend and will go off at some point as well, right? So I feel like there's more variety in that United team. And one of the things I spoke about a lot in the build-up to the weekend was like Fernandes can outscore Ronaldo in any given game week. Please don't get rid of him this week. And listen, if you did, it's just about worked out for you. But I could not see the idea of anybody selling Bruno before Newcastle at home. What a brilliant goal we got as well.
Good finish.
But I think now's the point where if you do have Bruno Fernandes still, you should reassess this and ask yourself, when am I sticking the armband on Bruno Fernandes at any point? And this would have been the case whether United had bought Ronaldo or not, where I would be saying you need to consider getting rid. And it will open up the game for you. As I already said, those on wildcard this week, honestly, they're going to be looking at trying to get Lukaku, Salah and Ronaldo all into their team. Bruno Fernandes, for the first time really since he come in, I think is beginning to become expendable. He was not expendable, in my opinion, for Newcastle at home. West Ham away, can he outscore Ronaldo this weekend? Yes. Longer term, would you ever choose Bruno Fernandes now over Cristiano Ronaldo? I don't think so. No. So I think Bruno now, it's time to look away and it will open up the game for you. Because unless you're going to Salah, which I guess there'll be a number of listeners who perhaps are looking at that move, and that's obviously perfectly reasonable. Otherwise, you are coming down. I don't believe you're going to Jadon Sancho. Heung-min Son's unavailable. You wouldn't have bought him this week before Chelsea anyway. So you are coming down and he's opening the game up for you. And I think now with West Ham away, it's a tough fixture. Now would be the time to look at doing that.
With Callum Wilson away off unavailable for Newcastle right now. There's nothing there, is there?
Well, there's a case to say, obviously we'll talk about Leeds in a bit. Leeds have got great fixtures coming up, but I guess there has to be a question, is Leeds a great fixture for everybody else at the moment as well? Wilson, my understanding is probably won't be back for Newcastle or for Friday night, and may even be struggling for the fixture at Watford in game week 6, which would be a massive blow, because they're two good fixtures for Callum Wilson, where you'd be surprised if he didn't return at least one of them. As I said earlier, they changed the system at Old Trafford, went with more 5-4-1, and they picked players who were more defensive-minded. Ironically, one of them, Javier Manquillo, ended up scoring. That's not the 4.0 option you should be looking at, because I would expect Jacob Murphy to come back into the team for the Leeds game. FPL Football, our Newcastle correspondent, has spoken about this in the past. When you're not having good results, Bruce just tends to I'll try this. It becomes a bit scattergun, even in team selections. And then when they have a good result, okay, I'm staying with that. Even if it didn't play well, they had a good result, keep that. So I think, like Manquillo, for me, even though he scored, I think Murphy goes back into the team to play against Leeds and need more high-energy players. I think even those the likes of Kieran Clark came in, that might change again. I think they'll probably go back to more of a 3-5-2. The only one that would be of interest from Newcastle right now would be Alain Saint-Maximin.
Agreed.
It's not for me.
No, it's like if you've got Ivan Toney and you don't have any money, or maybe only 0.1 to play with, because you do need the 0.1 to.
Price is he Saint-Maximin?
6.5.
He's 6.5 still. Nah.
I'd buy Odsonne Edouard over.
I'd rather, honestly, on that, I'd rather keep Toney through the difficult fixtures.
Yeah.
To know that it will be the talisman for Brentford.
Southampton 0, West Ham 0. I didn't watch Match of the Day, but one of the things I was sure of was that this game would be last on Match of the Day.
Did you not watch the game?
I watched the game.
Oh, good. Well,
that's
we're
why I
going to
didn't
leave this
watch
to you. Yeah.
No, but I was going to say, I was sure. I'll tweet after this is guaranteed last on Match of the Day today, because it was
shit.
It was just average. It wasn't bad quality.
Can just say if Palace and Tottenham had finished 0-0, that would have been last.
Yeah, it wasn't low on quality. The football was not. It was all foreplay, mate. There was nothing in the final foreplay. There was nothing in the final third. It was just very like West Ham controlled the game for such good portions of it.
Was it good foreplay?
The thing is, right, it's similar to the Palace game. West Ham we're very good at counter-attacking and playing with pace, and when there's space to attack, we'll create chances and score goals. If teams sit in relatively deep, we struggle to break them down. We struggled against Palace and we struggled again against Southampton. I thought Stevens was going to have a difficult game up against Antonio, and he didn't, to be fair. He handled himself reasonably well. Salisu, not so good, but they held out, right? I just think West Ham struggle with teams that sit in and are more likely to have good attacking opportunities when teams give them a bit of space to attack, and it didn't happen in this game. And as a result, we kept the ball, knocked it side to side, midfield had it, defence had it, great. But as soon as you got in the final third, there wasn't the quality to unlock Southampton, and in the end, they had a couple of really good chances towards the end. The young lad Broja came on. Broja.
Armando Broja on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah, and he's a young kid. Like, to be honest, I really like him. I mean, he's 5 million in FPL. You're not going to get him because I don't think he'll get into the team. But everything about the way he ran and the way he carried himself was someone with composure, and I did like him. I thought he looked potentially someone that would be a good impact player off the bench for them. Yeah.
I want to come back onto West Ham because there's some stuff I want to pick out from Southampton that were interesting over the weekend. So I've only seen what was on Match of the Day because I'm going to trust you to come and give us the proper insight on West Ham. Ian Wright said in his analysis on Match of the Day that Southampton played differently defensively, because in the interview afterwards, Ralph Hasenhüttl said, we tried something different defensively. And I was like, oh, please follow up on it. And Ian Wright said, yeah, I'm going to look at it. And then Ian Wright showed 2 different clips, one of them pressing high and one of them sitting deep. And I went, fucking, which one is it then? All he kept saying is, yeah, they did stuff different defensively. What was it? I didn't understand. So That's what I wanted to ask
they
you.
sat in deep.
Because what I take from looking at Southampton's average touch positions over the weekend, Solicitor and Stevens were very deep in comparison to normal Southampton deep.
Yeah.
So is that what happened?
61% possession West Ham, 39% Southampton in the first half.
And you're not a team that normally dominates possession anyway.
No.
Even against sides like that, you're actually happy to give it up.
It was all side to side between Agbana, Dawson, Rice, Souček, out to
So they weren't pressing you at the front?
No.
Did Elianusi play up front?
Yeah, he was kind of a front two. He was to the left, Armstrong to the right, but yeah. But they weren't pressing from the front. And even in the second half, 55-45.
So I think there's definitely something in that with the idea that, and don't jump on Elianusi is the first thing I want to clarify there. Because I know, particularly for Sky, a lot of people talking about him last week. And it's not to say he won't stay in the team. They played with Redmond and Gineppo in the wide positions.
Redmond was wide left.
Yeah.
Gineppo wide right.
Yeah. And
Redmond didn't seem like he was particularly...
He's just come back, hasn't he? And Stuart Armstrong still to come back, and Theo Walcott was unavailable as well. So actually, they've got a lot of attacking options. The reason that made me think, I'm not sure...
Adams was benched. He came off the bench.
Yeah. I mean, he brought Broha on rather than Che Adams. Has he come to a conclusion that Adams and Armstrong's not a good partnership? Which I think might be bad news for Armstrong, actually. Because it doesn't mean that all Armstrong's going to play 38 games and Adams is never going to start. I think there'll be some rotation there and stuff, potentially. Yeah. The fact he brought Broha on before Adams is what's made me think that. And the fact that Elianusi started. And again, I wondered if, with the fact that the centre-backs have gone a lot deeper, Hassan Hootel likes to describe the system as a 4-2-2-2. But basically, it's a 4-4-2. Mm-hmm. He likes to say that because the fullbacks will go high and the two wide players come into inside positions. A lot of teams who play 4-4-2 do that now anyway. It's not an overly big deal. But I wonder, because the two centre-backs are going a lot deeper, you need to protect that. So it was noticeable for me, again, and this is just looking at average position at the weekend, Romeo went a lot deeper than Ward-Prowse. And I wonder if the whole beneficiary of this whole cycle of they're trying something different, although he didn't do anything to show it at the weekend, might be James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, it could well be.
That's my takeaway, just looking at stuff non-football, actually, for a change, and looking at some of the stuff and the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
So I think if you're looking for a Tony replacement, fortunately, the fact that Southampton got Man City away this weekend probably means you're not going to Adam Armstrong this week. But afterwards, you can argue it's the beginning of a decent run. Wolves at home, then obviously it's Chelsea away. Then they've got a brilliant 5 fixtures, Southampton, from game week 8. And I think we need some information before then. And this weekend muddied the water for me a little bit. The fact that they changed something in their defensive structure and kept a clean sheet means that we might need to change the thinking in terms of how we're attacking options against Southampton, because I think they're the sort of team, they've conceded the most goals in 2021. I look at, that's the start of Lukaku's run, is obviously game week 7. Does it need rethinking? It probably doesn't, but Southampton might be changing a little bit, and we should maybe just be conscious of that, particularly I think from a captaincy perspective. So obviously a lot of people did captain Antonio at the weekend. That didn't go well.
No, I mean, obviously he lunged in. I think there was just a little bit of frustration and just sloppiness, really. He's not a dirty player in that way, but it was just sloppy and stupid. Vlasic came on...
Him and Tanganga, I'm sure, went out together on Saturday night.
Something like that, exactly that. People worried about whether it's time to move Ben Rama on, because he did come off for Vlasic.
Quite early, 63 minutes.
Now, I think... I mean, we weren't breaking them down, so I think he just thought, let me try something different here. Vlasic, I reckon, will play, I'm 90% sure, will play up top in Antonio's role now in the next game, and Ben Rama will stay.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Won't just play like, because he's spoken about Yarmolenko or Bowen
Yarmolenko
before.
came on later. I think he might play Vlasic up top, because Vlasic actually was all right when he came on. He looked lively. He was busy. He trying to get on the ball, trying to do things, trying to make things happen. I can see him just dropping Vlasic in up top and playing Ben Rama. Again, I don't know who he trots out on Thursday, so that might impact it as well. But I think Vlasic seemed all right.
I think he'll go Yarmolenko against Manchester United specifically, because I think he would look at it and think United, ironically, are not a team that you get in behind easy, and I think the Wolves game might have also given them a bit of a wake-up call from that perspective in terms of pace. So I think that in most games, West Ham would go Bowen, but I think in this game, it might go Yarmolenko in terms of holding up the ball a little bit better. He's a decent forward player back to goal. He's got the experience and stuff, isn't it, to bring other people into game. We're not talking about him winning things aerially, although he does have a presence about him. I think it might be Yarmolenko this weekend, just because it's Manchester United. But yeah, I'm keeping Antonio.
Yeah, and anyone on Benrahma, keep him as well for now, because Antonio's out.
I definitely, that's not going to be for everyone, and I wouldn't say to everyone definitely keep, because the advantage, if you can take it, is in front of your face. You look at something like Patrick Bamford's run coming up for Leeds, Newcastle away, then West Ham themselves, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Norwich is a very good run for Patrick Bamford, and that's the one that people are much looking at. I think Calvert-Lewin's going to get considered as well, where you look at it and go, well, I'll tell you what, it's Villa away this weekend, they're conceding goals, then it's Norwich at home afterwards. So very short term, I think if you want to jump off Antonio and say, well, I've not got Antonio this weekend, I can live without him for Leeds away, and then I want to go back for Brentford at home, then I think Calvert-Lewin. I think for longer term thinking, if you think we don't want to go back to Antonio, I think Bamford is probably the better choice. My outlook on it is it's Manchester United this weekend. I wasn't overly expecting anything anyway. He's not my biggest problem. I'm protected on the value with him.
Exactly.
Here stay.
Yep. Let's talk about Chelsea Villa. I mean, comfortable win for Chelsea.
Was it?
Well, hang on, sorry. Scoreline is comfortable for Chelsea.
Yeah, Villa played all right.
I think the biggest takeaway from an FPL point of view from this game for me was the reminder that we all had. There was a week, in multiple weeks pre-season, we all had Ollie Watkins in our drafts. And if I'm looking for an escape from Tony in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I have 7.5 million to spend, where Callum Wilson and Jimenez have dropped to 7.4, I don't mind Ollie. He looked lively. He could have, should have scored. And Villa did okay. I think Chelsea were just, in the end, ruthless and clinical, and that's why they're going to possibly win this league. But you're right, Villa were okay, and I like the look of Ollie Watkins.
We should throw Jimenez into just on Antonio replacements, because obviously the entry point's good for him as well with a good run of fixtures. I just feel like he needs that first goal. I think if you were going Tony to Watkins, I don't think anyone goes Antonio to Watkins this week, personally. And I don't think many would go Tony to Watkins either. And that's because Villa have still got tough fixtures as well, right? Everton at home, then a trip to United, then a trip to Tottenham, then Wolves, then Arsenal, then West Ham. Like, Villa's not the place to go, in my opinion. And we didn't get the full picture at the weekend. So Dean Smith's comments were that he changed the system to match up against Chelsea. Now, was it that, or was it a case of getting Watkins and Ings in the team together? Now, if it's not, because I'd predicted that actually they were going to go 4-4-2 and play Watkins and Ings and go for it a bit this weekend, which they did, just in a very different system. Did they go back to a back four this weekend? What's the impact of that against Everton? Is it Watkins and Ings? Buendia's going to come back in. Did they decide to go with the two up front because they missed a bit of creativity in the squad with no Buendia? Got Leon Bailey getting close to fitness as well now. So I think there's not the information on Ollie Watkins to consider it yet. I think for most people who can move on Danny Ings, a lot of you will have obviously done it pre-game week. I don't think you need to do it this week. I've got him, and it probably means he's staying for me till game week 7 now, and then I'm moving to Lukaku, which is a nightmare because Villa play Tottenham in game week 7. But it's probably the first good opportunity without taking hits I'm going to have to get rid of him. I think Danny Ings stays in the team at the moment. It was obviously an important buy for him. I think Watkins has shown in the past he can score in some of these big games, but it's more of a watch for me. We haven't got the Villa information. I don't think that's where you're diving in with the fixtures. The rather, I mean, what's Watkins' price compared to Bamford or so?
Well, Bamford's 7.9, Watkins 7.5.
I mean, you pay the extra, don't you, at the moment with Leeds' fixtures, I think.
Yep. But
this is the swing for Leeds, is now.
Chelsea, we know the strengths of Chelsea, and we know the players that they're there to go for. Rudiger's still stand out at the back.
The strength is they've got 20 good players, probably Chelsea. Although Chelsea fans may not be thinking that Saul Niguez is one of them after his very weird first half performance at the weekend. But I know there's a good footballer in there, and it will it'll come good. They made a number of changes. Jorginho rested, Azpilicueta rested, no Christensen, Reece James suspended, Mason Mount rested, and still strong, right?
Yeah. It's funny, as a Mount owner, when I saw him rested, we talked about he's not his first choice, but he's rotational. You said is the word you used. He'll play 4 out of 5. I was like, oh well, the first week I've got him is the one I've missed, so I'll get the next 4. Fine, job done.
You probably will.
Yeah,
you probably will, and there's probably a lot in that at the moment. That because Mount's first choice, and he definitely wants to play him in the Champions League. The Tottenham and Manchester City games, the next 2 are obviously very important for them. Tuchel was probably taking the decision and gone, I definitely want Mason Mount in the Tottenham, Manchester City and the Champions League fixtures. Because there'll be another Champions League fixture after Man City as well. Yeah. Probably thinking, right, okay, doesn't play in the Carabao Cup. Let me give him a little break now. He's going to play 4 of the next 5 fixtures. Yes, I agree with that. Doesn't mean he might miss Southampton at home.
Yeah, I mean,
but you don't want him to.
I want him to get 20 minutes off the bench.
I think it's worth saying as well. Obviously, Ziyech played, and I don't think he particularly stood out at the weekend, but he did have a phenomenal pre-season for Chelsea. When I watched Tottenham against them in pre-season, he was Chelsea's outstanding player. And I think we've possibly overlooked that a little bit in our Mason Mount thinking, because obviously Pulisic is out injured as well.
Again.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's always on and off with him, unfortunately. So I think Ziyech does give competition proper to Havertz and Mount. And it's made me think, where I always thought, I'm definitely going to want 3 Chelsea come game week 7. I am beginning to think, do you know what? I might just 2. I was always of the opinion that I might get swayed to think, no, it's not Mount, or it's a second defensive player or something like that. So it's a watching brief for Chelsea, and it's get Lukaku in at the right point for myself, which might be a little bit determined by injuries and the like.
There's other good options everywhere. Like so many other good teams have players that you can go to. United have good options. I don't even need to list all the good teams in the league. That's why the other reason why going with all in, you don't need to go all in with. I think Chelsea
if you're buying a Chelsea player this week, the only player you're buying is Lukaku, which I understand if people want to do that. I think people wildcarding, they'll probably go Rudiger because that neither Christensen or Azpilicueta to start the weekend is like, what was that? We have to remember Trevor Chalobah's another one who had a very good pre-season for Chelsea, played well in game week 1. He's trying to get himself established as a squad member and someone that they can call upon. So that's why I wanted to go with Rudiger, because there's just less people that can play left-sided centre-back. Now, I know Christensen can play that position, but an interesting point one of our patrons, Phantom Mantle, keeps making on Rudiger as well is that basically if Marcos Alonso plays, Tuchel doesn't trust anybody else bar Rudiger to play left-sided centre-back, basically. And at the moment, Alonso's got the shirt, isn't he? And it might be that he's the one come game week 7. But I think over the next couple of weeks, before game week 7 comes round, not only are we going to get the information of Chelsea's fixtures against Tottenham and Man City, we're going to get the information of 2 Champions League fixtures as well, ready for game week 7. And I think for most of us now, it's probably a case of assessing for then.
Where's Ben Chilwell?
I don't know what's going on now. And I think we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. I don't mean like find out, but it's all a bit odd. Like even England in against Ukraine that night in Rome. And I didn't understand when he brought Trippier on with 10-15 minutes to go, why he give everybody else some minutes in the tournament and didn't give Ben Chilwell any.
Yeah,
I hope it's there something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. To be honest.
Me neither. It's funny how Dan FPL Chancellor put the article from The Athletic out last week about this.
Don't link this.
No, but you know when Grealish disappeared and now I'm like, where is John Stones and what's going on? And I just
John Stones played twice for England last week, so we know that's
no,
all
true.
Right.
He's all right, but like, why are they not coming back into the team and stuff? And touch wood, it's not like long-term COVID symptoms that he suffered that no one knows about or anything like that. Touch wood, everything's all right.
He's been on the bench and stuff, hasn't he?
I don't even know, but it's just I've got a friend who's had him since game week 1. And every week it's like, I'm sure Chilwell will come back. I'm like, you need to fix that Chilwell problem, mate, because he's not coming back in. I'm really surprised, confused.
But I think he could come back in. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because I think
they paid good money for him.
I don't know what's going on, but for me, Ben Chilwell was ahead of Marcos Alonso generally in Thomas Tuchel's thinking. I think it is worth saying that Marcos Alonso has now played the 4 games for Chelsea, and he's only had 1 brain fart And actually his brain fart was because he didn't allow his goalkeeper to go and get the ball. At least he was showing the commitment to try and get it. That was in the Liverpool fixture for what obviously led to Reece James's red card. So he's doing all right, but I don't think we can make the judgment on Marcos Alonso to say, oh, he's nailed now at left wing back because of Champions League coming up. And we know that Marcos Alonso is not going to play twice every week for the next 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
We know that because at worst, he played Hudson-Odoi at left wing back. He tried in pre-season, didn't he? Christian Pulisic at left wing back. So we know that he'll potentially try other things as well. I thought Hudson-Odoi would play right wing back against Villa specifically to target Matt Target. That's what they did. I think Reece James probably comes back in game week 6. But I would not be surprised, honestly, if Chelsea go Rudiger, Silva, Christensen with Azpilicueta as a wing back against Tottenham at the weekend. Would not be surprised at all.
I need to get Chelsea defensive coverage. It's one big thing lacking in my squad.
I think if you can get Chelsea defensive coverage and you haven't got issues, you don't need to wait for 7. I think get it done. But I think other than Rudiger, you're probably going to be nervous about everyone else at the moment. Rudiger is not going to not play against Tottenham and Man City.
Yeah.
If he's fit, certainty.
And let's wrap up.
Probably means he gets benched against Southampton when you want it the most. But Chelsea showed last year, even in the big games, they'll keep clean sheets and stuff, right?
Yeah. Let's wrap up with the Leeds 0, Liverpool plenty, and we can then get into maybe a couple of questions of the old Twitter, as well as letting everybody know what else they have to look forward to in this game week. There's a Friday deadline this week, isn't there?
It is.
Friday night football coming up. So, yeah.
And Leeds will feature in it.
Indeed, they will.
Let's start with Harvey Elliott.
Ouch.
Terrible, mate.
Ouch. Dislocated ankle.
And it do you know what? It ruined what was a brilliant game of football for 2 reasons. One, because unfortunately, when that happens, you really do lose the... very similar as a Spurs fan at Everton the other year when Andre Gomez got injured and obviously Sonny was sent off. Sonny got rescinded. I haven't seen a replay of the strike challenge, but I'm not sure that it will get overturned like Son's was. In any case, that's kind of irrelevant because the injury is more important.
Did you watch it on Sky?
Yes.
I watched it on another channel.
I love you, mate.
And
www.something.
Something. Yeah. Compared to the Christian Eriksen incident in the summer, the TV actually handled it a lot better this time.
This would have come for
on the channel.
Would have come for the British broadcasters. Yeah. They've dealt with this before. So I thought
at least give them a little bit of credit for dealing with it properly this time. I don't know on the channel that I was watching on. They didn't show any replays. They didn't show any of the incident. They didn't show any of the medical stuff, and that was it. Perfectly fine. They were sensitive about it, and I'm assuming Sky Sports was the same. Yeah,
there was no replays, man.
Good. Just nice to know that it was handled better by TV this time round.
Sky have learned their experiences from that, and it must be said to relate back to the Eriksen. They were all picking up the pictures from Denmark. Yeah. What the BBC should have done was turn the fucking TV off and just go to the studio, which they could have done. Anyway, that's not the point. Elliott's injury is a real shame. Obviously for him as a young boy, it seems like you look at him on social media and stuff, he's dealing with a bit like Wesley Fofana, actually. He's kind of taking it on his stride. It was a really nice story about there was a kid who was ill in hospital, was on the next bed last night. Elliott was still in his shirt, give him a shirt and stuff. He was quite quick to post on Instagram afterwards. And although there's been some noise of some Leeds fans making some not very considerate chants yesterday, there was a lot of Leeds fans clapping him, was getting carried off, and Harvey Elliott was well enough to be clapping them back as well, actually, which is nice because sometimes you see these things when people are going off with oxygen over their face and stuff like that. For FPL, there is a potential impact, and it might be bad news for Trent and Mo Salah. Could be. I don't think we should overly look into that. Look, we're still talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah here. But what Harvey Elliott has been doing in the last 3 games has definitely helped facilitate chance creation openings for Trent and Mo Salah. We spoke last year in the winter period about the difficulties Liverpool were having in the space in between Trent and Mo Salah being too big. You've got their best attacking scorer and their most creative player, which Trent is, too far apart from each other. And Harvey Elliott has been allowing them to get closer. And Liverpool don't have a direct replacement for someone who's going to be busy in midfield and drift into those kind of right areas where he almost becomes a right winger and Trent can come and play inverted and Mo Salah can go and play centrally. The only person who could fulfill that role is Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, I thought Henderson is the one that.
But
is
it won't,
because he did it quite well.
Do it to the same way, and this isn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that even Harvey Elliott is a better player than Jordan Henderson. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Jordan Henderson will play that role very differently. Elliott's almost going in like a fourth attacker. We've had years of Liverpool playing kind of a flat three, and their midfielders don't get returns. Elliott was a player who was looking like he might actually.
But
so
Curtis
I don't think
Jones
Henderson does.
In there, maybe. He's not bad.
I'll tell you
either.
what Jones does really well is, and I've spoken about this before, Jones is really good for Robertson, ironically.
There's the opposite on the other side, doesn't he?
But no, Elliott, it's kind of difficult to explain without a visual. Jones really drops into left-back positions when he plays for Liverpool, which allows Robertson to have a higher starting point and still gives Van Dijk the short pass to the left-back. Whereas what Elliott was doing, Elliott doesn't go into right-back positions. He goes in between Salah and Trent to create the link between the two players. Jordan Henderson's not going to go flying into right wing positions. Henderson would play it similar to Jones. So it might be that
there were periods last year where Henderson was so high up. Like he was dropping in false 90 type stuff or creating space for others.
Really?
We talked about this on the show Henderson.
I was drunk that day.
Henderson was playing. I mean, we're talking year and a bit ago, but there was a period when Liverpool were flying where Henderson was pushing on and making runs to create space for then Trent to run into and link up with Salah. I've seen it. I can't say I've seen it a lot, but he can do that. I do think Henderson's the one that can take the mantle.
Well, I'm fairly certain it's Henderson that will play the role. It was surprising to see him not in the team at all yesterday, but I think Klopp wanted Thiago's composure in what's such a melting pot, obviously, against Leeds is 100 mile an hour, and you think, I need to play the high energy player. Actually, sometimes what you need to do is get someone to put their foot on the ball and give you some control. Yeah, I'm sure Henderson will go in. It's just he'll play the role slightly different. I think what you might see in coming game weeks, and the next two are difficult to judge because they're games where you would expect this anyway with Crystal Palace and Brentford, is I think you'll see Trent higher up average position wise, which on the face of it you'd think, well, that can't be bad. It shouldn't be, but it means some of the other areas that Trent's been getting into and creating, think like the Mane goal in game week 2, he might not be able to. That's my point. So I think it's just something to watch. I'm obviously not saying sell these two players. I'm just saying there might be an impact. And it doesn't, even though I watched Palace at the weekend look extremely good against Tottenham, and I'm saying there may be an impact on Salah Trent, and I don't fucking doubt in my mind Salah be my captain at the weekend, and to be honest, I'll put Trent Rice as well. I don't even care. And you expect them to do very well over the weekend. On Trent, irrespective of everything I'm saying, get him in your team. Just do it. It's no midfielder at the same price who's as good. Just get him in.
I can't argue with you.
Just get him in.
I don't even want to. I own him, right? I
need to save the money for Ferran Torres or Trent's better than all these guys. Get him in. He's going to play nearly every game. That's your premium defender. Forget about it.
He's returned every game if you include the two BPS.
Third highest scoring player.
Yeah.
I think just behind Salah and Antonio.
Yeah.
There is no negotiation on Trent for me.
No.
He stays. I'm pleased at the moment that Robertson's not returning because I always hate missing without him. But I do think there's possibly a little bit of Robertson is a little bit of protection of Van Dijk at the moment. Anyway, that's enough on Liverpool. Other than Sadio Mane's 8 shots in the box was more than 8 of the 18 teams that have played so far this game week, which I did tweet last night. If he could have finished, as I said, right at the top, Mane and Jota. I mean, honestly, if Mane had finished his chances, Salah and Jota could have had about 3 assists between them. And suddenly I'm looking at an amazing game week to compete with everybody else's, but no complaints. Mane, you view it as, and you have to be careful with this, people will spin the narrative. And one of the things I said in that tweet last night is, how do you interpret it? Because some will look at the data and go, oh my God, do you know what? Mane's outperforming Mo Salah on the stats. Yes, he is at the moment. Unfortunately, he only hit the cow's arse with a banjo once out of 8 attempts. So which line do you take?
I was ready to put it out there. One of my thoughts, but I didn't tweet in the end, was when I saw him miss a couple of chances, was thank you to official FPL for pricing him at 12 million because they made it a no-brainer that none of us were ever going to buy him and we were all going to buy Salah.
Well,
and
interestingly,
we're off the hook again because
just on that. I think there's some who will go Fernandes to Mane this week. And I don't hate that with what Liverpool got in the next two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possible. It'd be such a differential. But I think it is a move specifically for that. If you decided, right, Bruno Fernandes is not going to be part of my long-term structure. What do I want to do? Do I want to come down to 7 million or so? No, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to stay at that value for the next 2 weeks for Liverpool's 2 good fixtures. Yeah, I think that's possible. I'd be no interest of me personally, but I think if I had Fernandes and only had 2 Liverpool, I would consider it short term. But it's still difficult if you're sitting there with, say, Salah and Trent. It's still difficult to make a case for Mane over Jota, in spite of all those statistics yesterday. Unless Roberto Firmino suddenly shows up. The word seems to be game week 5 is probably going to be a no for Firmino, and game week 6 might be a struggle. That seems to be where we're at. Probably not a return this week, maybe game week 6.
That's a wrap of the games for you listeners. Hope you enjoyed a quick rundown.
Leeds.
And any kind of thoughts. Leeds,
By Rafinha.
You still think so?
All day long, mate.
Good.
Yeah.
That's knocked out 50%
By
of the
Rafinha. Jack Harrison, if you're struggling for value, should be considered. But I think where I going in now, I would go down further to Gallagher, actually. I think Rafinha would be the priority for Leeds. Bamford is going to fall in lovely for those who want to replace Antonio this week. I think defensively at the moment, you should leave it. Yeah. With obviously Strack, he's going to be suspended presumably for 3 games. Llorente, who makes them stronger defensively, picked up an injury again. I could have bought him in Sky yesterday, Serge. Oh my God. I'll talk about that Wednesday. So they're weaker defensively. Cox injured as well, so Ayling might have to play centre-back at the moment. Ignore that defensively at the moment till at least you get after the West Ham fixture, I think, which is game week 6, and maybe look again game week 7. But yeah, you want to buy Rafinha? Yeah, I wouldn't be doubting the fact he's got 1 goal in 4. Returns will come for Rafinha.
I'm kicking him forward, actually, Rafinha, now for a couple of weeks, possibly. But it's a decision that we'll talk about later in the week once I know a little bit more around what's happening. At the moment, it's a case of Barnes will go, and that could be Gallagher.
Leeds have great six fixtures. West Ham is a difficult fixture. I think it's 7 to 10 is the very best of Leeds. Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Norwich does look amazing, although we might need to begin to start reassessing our opinion of Wolves and think of them as a stronger, more difficult opponent potentially. I think for me, part of the reason I want to advise people to buy Rafinha is I don't think I can.
Watford and Wolves.
Just like last week, me telling everyone, if you can buy Ronaldo, buy Ronaldo. We missed out Watford and Wolves. How did we do that?
Because I jumped to from Southampton through to...
Do you know how many messages I'm going to get about that?
No, we're going to talk about it.
I want to swear at you.
We're going to talk about it.
How did we miss Watford and Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, look, 2-0.
That's it. Moving on. 3 questions. No, there are some important points on this. So, Marcel's going to get a lot of attention for the 2 assists in the game. One which was crossed and headed spectacularly into his own goal by Francisco Sierralta, who Watford got clearance for to play, probably wished they hadn't, and who everybody was telling me that was associated with Watford that this guy's like their Virgil van Dijk. I've seen nothing to back that opinion up as yet. I don't think they're great defensively. I think we need to remove from our minds everything we heard and learned about this Watford. Team's come up as the best defensive team ever from the Championship, yada, yada, yada. No, I've seen enough in the 4 games now to know that the only team Tottenham ever looked like scoring in the 4 games was Watford, and so's everybody else. So defensively, they're a no-go, even with Norwich and Newcastle in the next 2. I think Ismail Assar is fine. Musa Sissoko is a 4.5 million option. Yep. I very much agree with that. I think that's fine. And you're not in a rush to move any of their players with these 2 fixtures. But I think even in the case of Daniel Bachmann, I think after these 2, you should possibly have a second look around about maybe what you want to do. I think if you're wildcarding now, you don't go Bachmann.
No.
I don't think. Especially if Ramsdale's like offering himself as an alternative now as well.
Sanchez 4.5. They did better options, aren't they?
On Wolves, I would prefer to pay the extra for Semedo over Marcel.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. I think the 2 returns he got, he was so, even on the second goal, he was so half-hearted about it. It was like, well, you going to put it in or what? Semedo obviously had 2 amazing chances in the game and should have scored. And just kind of speaking to myself while I'm doing this podcast, I think it's probably Semedo versus Tierney is possibly going to be what the choice comes to by the time I get to the weekend. I'd pay the extra for Semedo over Marcel. If in your setup you want a 4.5, fine, get Connor Cody. Honestly, I'm not big on Marcel.
No,
It's gone. It's been and gone. I trust.
Two assists.
Honestly, I trust Bradley Parker's word on it. Ask Bradley what you think. I still think 8-0 put pressure on him. I think Marcel will get injured at some stage. It's not of interest to me. I'm very happy with Jose Sar's.
Any kind of thoughts on the attacking midfield as the debate of Traore versus Trincao versus now Podent's got minutes again at the weekend.
I answered this a lot on my streams at the weekend because I know, and it's right that people were looking for one because of the fixture turn, and actually the way they played at Watford gave you even more belief. Whereas I thought it'd probably be quite low scoring. I mean, Wolves missed 5 big chances. They really did beat Watford comfortably. I know Bradley's opinion, our Wolves correspondent, was more Trincao over Traore. I would have had a slight favouritism for Traore, in spite of the fact I've been saying with Traore, easier fixtures don't necessarily mean returns for Traore, and there wasn't a lot there from the weekend. And the new Korean player, Hwang, Bruno Lage said he can play in wide positions as well. Daniel Podence, it was his delightful original cross for the second goal, which basically created it. He's fit as well. So if they stay in the system, there's enough threat to Traore and Trincao. My opinion would still be the same. If I had to buy an attacking player, I would buy Raul Jimenez. He needs the first goal.
Yeah,
I reckon it will come this weekend.
Good. We didn't forget any games. We were just doing them in alphabetical order.
Oh my God, if we'd have forgot and finished recording, that would have...
Yeah, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
It's only when you started talking about Wolves Watford, I was like, we didn't even talk about that game. But it's all good. James, do you want to tell everybody what we have left for them for this week? And I'm going to scan through the Twitter questions. We're going to pick 2 or 3 really good ones. And I've already found them. And I'm going to pick the non-FPL ones as well completely. So, yes. What do we have for everybody this week, including the Patreon pods? And I'll plug how people can promote
tomorrow.
The show.
I'm doing my Ask James stream tomorrow on Tuesday, 3 o'clock UK time. The reason I'm doing it on Tuesday rather than Friday is I cannot bear to have 2 streams going on with the same repetitive questions twice in a row. So if I do one on Tuesday and I do the deadline stream on Friday, at least it feels like a bit of a split for myself. So if you haven't got your question asked, you can jump on that stream tomorrow and ask then. Wednesday will be Sky Fantasy Football. We'll be talking about reaction to our overhaul selections, captaincy for match week 5 weekends, some solutions for Adam Webster and Mikel Antonio problems. Thursday's clash of correspondence, as I already mentioned, is Brighton versus Leicester with FPL Seagull and Aaron Lagle. Friday, I don't know yet. I think we might throw a people's poll in there as well. I'll make a decision on that on Wednesday and we'll communicate on Twitter what that's going to be. It may be a people's poll vote. If it is, we'll put it out on Wednesday. On Patreon, intermediate tier and above podcasts. Today's our Q&A. Tomorrow we have our first UEFA Champions League fantasy preview for game week 1. Wednesday is Tottenham, where I'm going to really fucking rip Nuno apart, to be honest with you. Thursday, we've got a quiz, which is going to be on the first 4 game weeks in FPL. Friday will be our game week 5 preview podcast, where we go into full detail, predictions for the weekend, differential, dead, minus 56, lots of stuff.
Yeah, Patreon's a good place to head to support the show, patreon.com/planetfpl, as well as the additional content that James mentioned for intermediate and advanced. He does videos for the advanced tiers, some team prediction articles, just basically loads of additional content that you might find useful. There's a Slack channel, that has loads of channels, all the different teams, nearly 500 people in there. Well worth jumping on that as well.
I've started posting on Sunday nights what our content schedule is for the week as well, and that includes information of what the advanced tier content is as well.
Good. So yeah, do head over to that, and if you want to support the show, we will welcome you with open arms. A couple of questions, James, here, and these are good ones. Let me find it again. It was FPL Steve, I think, that I found the question. What is your meal deal, sandwich, crisps and drink of choice?
Evian, Live Young, because I'm not much of a snob, but I am when it comes to water.
Okay, but why don't you go with the Voss then? You know the Voss bottles with the grey top that it looks like a tube type thing.
I went through a stage of drinking smart water because I wanted to feel better about myself. No, I'm an Evian snob. Can't be having Volvic. I can't have that at all. Bag of McCoys. And normally a sandwich, but I did buy a meal deal this morning on my way in. I bought a little pasta thing actually.
You got the pasta salad.
Yeah. I know everyone's just looked at me and went, "No, I don't think you eat that, James."
as a rule, I'd be ham and cheese as a sandwich, or egg and cress.
Chicken and shit.
Ham and cheese or egg and cress is standard. Cheese and onion crisps. Or prawn cocktail, but generally cheese and onion. And again, McCoy is all the way. You need the crunch, right?
Yeah.
And I will go with coconut water or Voss water.
Coconut water?
Coconut water. It's supposed to be really good for you. So, and it's also stupidly expensive. Like I'm also that dickhead that will think it's a £3 meal deal. Which are the most expensive things I can put into the £3 meal deal?
You should
to get
do
the biggest
that.
discount, of course. And coconut water is like nearly £2 on its own for one of those little cartons. So, coconut water, cheese.
Is this where I've been going wrong for 20 years? No
coconut water, mate. That's the one. That's the interesting one.
But oddly enough, when I was in the Beehive on Saturday, losing my mind, there wasn't any coconut water on sale.
We have a question coming in from Pep Talk here. I think we'll wrap the show up with this one because it's an interesting one, and one that I've thought about before as well.
He's lost the question.
No, it's not Pep Talk's question.
Sorry, Pep Talk.
It's Hornet's question. Shout out Sky FF Hornet. If there were to be an FPL helpline after a bad game week, would you offer a straight talking, no nonsense number for James and a more comforting "it'll be okay" phone number for Suj? Good cop, bad cop options.
Is that what we are? Are we good cop, bad cop? I think I'm just aggressive with people on my streams because I can't be asked.
Yeah. I do. I love watching the stream just because of how no nonsense it is. But no joke, what you do with the streams is very hard to do. Like, keep it moving, keep it to the point, get the questions answered with because you're thinking on the spot, right? But you're giving good answers. They're not just like blagging an answer to get a question off.
Like,
and onto the
no,
next
don't
one.
do that.
Yeah. It's very hard to do, but you know one of the most entertaining shows to listen to is always a phone-in show on like 606 or anything like that on 5 Live, because the callers generally are just that little bit mad.
That's what it's like on my deadline stream.
I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is an FPL phone-in show yet, ever. Because you can get live streams, questions, Q&As, all well and good. But the phone-in show,
we're not doing it.
The phone-in show is because the person phoning in is fucking mad. Do you know? They'll come in with like absurd opinions. When you've got Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, who are also quite opinionated, then able to have like it descends into an argument or a stupid debate. It's great for the ratings, James. So I'd be well up for a phone-in show, but I think logistically it's a little bit of a mess to manage. But yeah, phone-in show all the way. And would I be calm and it will be all right?
No, we're not doing a phone-in show, so stop asking.
No, we should do a phone-in show. But would you be no nonsense or would you be soothing on the phone? I think you'd be soothing on the phone.
To be honest, all that pisses me off for them deadlines, it's the same questions. Who should I captain this week? It's on the fucking screen. Please have a look. Or just listen to the first 3 minutes where I cover everything off and then get the same questions for 57. I actually really enjoyed it at the weekend because there was a lot of different questions where I was expecting. On my Ask James stream last Friday, it's like everything Ronaldo and Bruno. Surely, I don't need to advise you on Ronaldo and Bruno. You can all make your own mind on these sort of players, right?
Exactly.
I'm not going to give you any insights. Oh my God, yeah, Ronaldo had 27 touches with his left foot. Normally he has in the age 22. Or it's nothing I'm going to tell you about Cristiano Ronaldo you don't already know and stuff. No. So I prefer it when I get the questions, who is the best Norwich defender? And I think, well, the answer generally is no. But when you delve a bit deeper, yeah, we can make a case for Williams or Mobamidele, depending on structure.
There we go.
Am I really bad cop?
I'm not sure.
I also don't think you're a good
postcard.
cop. I just think you're a bit nicer than me.
I'll take that as a way to end the pod. Listeners, hope you enjoyed today's episode. As we mentioned, so much more content coming this week. Stay safe wherever you are. Wash your hands. Chat for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please, man child.